Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm just going to wait a minute for people to jump into this webinar, so we can have as much people joining as possible. I can see that people are already coming in, and I can see several of you are very in good time, so it looks very good. Just give it 30 more seconds. Looks good. Looks good. All right, let's get started. Okay, so welcome to today's webinar, 5 Guiding Principles for Successful Self-Service Portals in 2022. I'm Michelle from Marketing, and with me today I have Nicholai Christensen. Can you say hi, Nicholai?
Hey, everyone.
Great. Some of you might already know Nicholai. Nicholai is a self-service portal extraordinaire, has so much experience from both sides of the table. So he would be the perfect guy to tell you about this topic today. So we're really excited to have him with us. My role today would be to be the host of this, so introducing you and practical stuff and all that. And also I will be moderating questions from you guys. There should be a question function you can use in this webinar where you can ask questions, and then after the presentation we will answer the questions, or mostly Nicholai will answer the questions. And if for some reason it doesn't work, I've written my email address under my picture here, so you can email me if something doesn't work for some reason. Yeah, and then this is a 45-minute webinar. It will be recorded and we will share it on LinkedIn and all those things, but I will wrap this up in the end as well. So without further ado, I will give the word to Nicholai.
Thank you. And welcome to this webinar about service portals and self-service in 2022. And why are we hosting this webinar is the first question. Well, in 2022, things have changed from 2019 and before that, because due to the pandemic, a lot more people are working from home. People's work habits have been changing. There's hybrid, there's working from home, and IT self-service is more important than ever. Self-service through ServiceNow is actually something that can help accelerate this experience and help the experience for the employees throughout the enterprise. Viewing self-service as a difficult thing is a thing of the past, and it's something that we need to embrace and understand and just run with. It's here to stay, and it can enhance productivity, and it can enhance the way the entire business actually is working. It can enhance creativity and help manual work just not go away, but at least it can minimize it. So today we've made this webinar, which is called 5 Guiding Principles. And I've tried to make five guiding principles, which all started with an A. That wasn't possible, so it's 3 A's, an I, and a K, because I thought the value of what I'm going to talk about is more important than the 5 A's. But first, I'm going to tell you about who am I and why I know something about this. Then we're going through the 5 different principles. Acknowledge the demand, accept self-service as a service, adapt to the self-service mindset, invest in knowledge, and how to keep up. These are the 5 key points you should always consider when thinking about investing in ServiceNow and a self-service portal or self-service as a whole in your business. So a little about me and a little about why I know something about this. I'm 41 years old. I live in Brøndby Strand in Denmark. I'm married to Ditte. I have a daughter, Luca, who turns 11 here in the 1st of April. She's a little April Fool's, but that's how it is. I'm a gaming nerd and loves Marvel and Star Wars in any shape. I have my little buddy over here who will give me mental strength during this webinar. And I had to put in some kind of funny quote, so I put in didn't want a cat, wife wanted a cat, so we got 2 cats. And it's actually funny because that's true. So I have a 13 little old kitten I don't know what to do with, but that's how it is. My work history, my relevant work history is that I was in the Danish company Ørsted from 2008 to 2016 in different positions, and then I was onboarded for Copenhagen Airport in 2016 and helped develop one of the biggest enterprise-wide ServiceNow instances in Europe. Copenhagen Airports has really grab this whole self-service mentality. They have the right mindset, and that's something I'm going to talk about during the webinar. Yes, and without further ado, because we have a limited time today, so I can't cover everything, but I'm going to try to cover the big chunks. There's not going to be a lot of I'm not going to show anything in the system or something like that. This will be talking about the principles, how to approach self-service and how to make it grow and how it actually delivers a lot of value to your company. And the first thing you need to do is acknowledge the demand for self-service. We need to see what people want and acknowledge what people want. It's 2022. And people don't want to fill out manual forms, and they don't want to have difficult processes if they want to order a new PC or order a new pair of screen glasses for your eyes, something like that. And you can't underestimate how IT is perceived if you don't grasp this concept. If you don't deliver self-service, if you have the manual processes in your company, IT is going to be perceived in a non-modern way, in an unmodern way. And we also have to acknowledge that working from home is not a trend. It's the new normal. It's here to stay. Some of us will go back to hybrid functions, but a lot of places have actually really embraced this virtual first mindset, and that also that means that you can't go to your company every once in a while and fill out manual forms. So computers aren't going away, but paper is, and we're well on the way to do that. Also, I'm going to talk about the fact that you can develop apps for all these kinds of things. You can develop an app for this, an app for that, but our phones, you all know, it's already full of apps. It's Candy Crush and stuff like that, and that just fills up your phone. And if you have to look for something specific, like how you're gonna sign up for the Christmas lunch through an app, well, that can be a very bad experience. And the way that ServiceNow Service Portal is set up is it's a one-stop shop. You have to think about the way that it's set up so you can go one place and order everything you need. No matter if it's something from the business or if it's something from IT. IT is, of course, the easiest way. That's an entry point for many companies. Say, well, you can order a PC and you can order a VPN, stuff like that. But also enterprise-wide, you can digitize so many processes easily through ServiceNow and the service portal. And that's what we've done in Copenhagen Airports. And that's something that I've learned a lot about. Now I'm at DXC, so all the learnings I've gained from implementing all these things in ServiceNow in the airport is something I can now share with all our customers. The employees want it easy, and that's what I was talking about. The need for personal contact isn't as important as it was just 2-3 years ago. We don't need to go down to a service desk. We don't need to call a service desk if it's something simple that we want a solution for. We want to be able, through our mobile phone or our PC, to order everything, and it should go seamlessly, and ServiceNow can help with that. Worst case scenario, of course, is if people, we have a very depleted market for IT people, I know, in Denmark and probably also the rest of the world. So we also need to keep our employees happy all across the enterprise. And we can do that by making the processes within the company easier. If you have very difficult processes, if it's difficult to do your actual work, people will leave. They will find some place where it's better and it's easier. So this is also a way to say, okay, we have all these easy processes, which makes it easy to work for us. And that way you can focus on what you're actually hired to do. So you need to acknowledge the fact that users and employees want self-service, and you need to act upon it. But how do you know you're ready for self-service? Well, there are several ways to know, but I've picked out 4 points, which is pretty easy to identify. Users will complain about manual and tedious processes. They will talk about it when they talk about it on Teams meetings, in lunch. Oh, this is not working, stuff like that. If that's something that's starting to go around or is already going around, you should actually act upon it, because it's something that will fester within the company. You can also see if your first-time right solution is slow. If your cases or emails run around the company multiple times, it takes a long time to get the right answer, you don't know where to get the right answer, that can prolong processes. That can prolong incident management and stuff like that. So that's also a sign that you have a problem. The service desk can receive a lot of calls and emails about the same things over and over again, and they lose focus on some important incidents which they should actually be focusing on, because they're doing manual routines over and over again, which isn't really value for money for your service desk. Also, the personal emails and calls that go around all over the business because someone don't know where to call to get something, that's also a big problem. So transparency as to where you get your information is also very important. That was the first principle. The second principle is to accept self-service as a service. Now, IT services is a lot of different things. It can be a network component. It can be a piece of software. But self-service is a service with so much more, but it's still a service. It's something that IT administers and lets the business have, just like an email, just like a mail server or something, just like Office or Outlook or something. It's a service that you need to maintain and make sure that you have supported and you keep growing, that keeps growing. It's a living, I've written here, it's a living, organic, ever-expanding possibility. And that's big words, but it actually is, because you can digitize. I would almost say every piece of paper you have where someone needs to fill out a form, you can in some way digitize that. It depends on how much work you put into it, but you can also take very simple things and digitize. And every time you do that, it'll make things easier for your employees. And the ServiceNow platform also has the ability and the out-of-the-box functionality to actually reduce the number of applications within your company. An example, you can have a very expensive contract management system in your company, but ServiceNow has an out-of-the-box contract management module. You can activate that and you can start putting your IT contracts, all contracts in that, and you can use that. And the way ServiceNow works, it's ever expanding. So there's 2 new releases every year, and they always come up with new things like virtual agent, like AI and stuff like that. So it's getting better all the time, and it's better now, so much better than it was for 5 years ago, where I started working with it. And if you really start using the functionality that is within ServiceNow, instead of like investing in a whole new system which requires a project implementation, a support deal, someone to handle this system, well, then you can actually reduce the number of applications within your company, which will in turn save you money. But of course, there is one important thing, and that is that the IT leadership needs to recognize self-service not just as something that's there, but it's something that's actually is adding constant value and more value to your company. And if the IT leadership in the company acknowledges this and sees this, then the sky is the limit on how much money you can actually save by using a service portal, and how much goodwill the IT can get from actually implementing a fully functional working self-service platform and service portal. So it's actually a win-win situation for everybody. You reduce the time spent on processes. Users can find their own information without having to disturb other employees for the information. And the first time right solution is improving, so you can actually spend your time on the actual incidents and the actually things you've been hired to do and to work with. The company overall, I would say, gets more effective, of course, due to this, but also more creative, because when you have a service portal, you get a lot of ideas. Say, okay, I have this piece of paper in my company. I would actually like to digitize this, so I wouldn't have to sit manually and handle it every time. And that's something that's very powerful also. Now, when I say this, it also requires that you actually adapt to the mindset of self-service. And as I said in the beginning, sorry, where I came from, Copenhagen Airports, they adapted to the mindset of self-service. Self-service, it's not something that's done, it's ever evolving. And the more energy you put into it, the more value you get. It's not like you have to think, okay, now we have a ServiceNow platform and we have a service portal and now we're done. No. That's like saying, well, now we have a web shop with very limited selection. We're not getting the value we could get from the platform. The value comes from constantly putting new things into the platform. You have a foundation for growth and a foundation for user experience and cost reduction, and you should really take advantage of that. If you don't take advantage of that, then you just have a very expensive ticket system, and that's not where ServiceNow is going. ServiceNow is going enterprise-wide. They want more enterprise, so they are going to support enterprise-wide in the future. So you need to think that now we have a service portal, or now we're thinking of getting a service portal. How can we build awareness of this, and how can we build on the momentum? You need to realize that every time let's say you have a service portal, every time you put new service requests in the service portal, new knowledge articles in the service portal, you will also generate traffic. And that traffic, I've seen with my own eyes, that every time someone new, if you make a new service which is targeted to a new audience within the company, that audience will start using the service, of course, but they will also look around in the service portal and start using all the other self-service functions, read all the knowledge articles, and that way they will get more informed and do more self-service themselves. So you will actually, by putting more in, you will generate more traffic, and you will see a better use of the portal, and people will get less disturbed in their usual working routines, because people will stop calling about stuff they can find themselves. It's really as simple as that. So you have to think that every time you take one demand from paper to production, you can just add value, add value all the time. And the ServiceNow ecosystem, if you start building it as an ecosystem, you will generate so much value, and also employee satisfaction, which is very important in these days where everyone is looking for new employees, everyone is struggling to retain the employees they have. This is actually a way to do it. People are satisfied with how they can function within the company, both personally but also digitally. That's a new thing. Also digitally, they will be happier employees. But saying that, it doesn't mean that we're always, you know what the company needs. You know what the company wants. You need to engage with the business. You have to have this mindset. Now we have this opportunity to help the business. Now we need to guide the business to make sure that they know we have this service and to help them expand the service. How can we make business see the advantages of our new self-service? And how to do that? That is, of course, you need to promote the service. You need to make it the talk of the town. You have to make sure that you always think in user experience, because one thing is just implementing a service request. You don't have to make the service request difficult to use. You have to use the right words. You have to make it user friendly. I always said that it shouldn't be harder to use to what's it called, order a new PC or a piece of equipment at your business than buying a pair of shoes on Zalando. Well, given, yeah, I don't know how you feel about Zalando, but still it's a valid point. People are used to having web shop in their lives, so the service portal should actually function as a very easy to use web shop, and it can, and it's out of the box. So now we've talked about the three principles in which you should think about self-service. Now it's also time to act on self-service. What I found through my experience is that the more you invest in knowledge within your company, the better, because knowledge is power and self-service isn't free. And the more you invest in education for your employees who is handling the platform, but also generally IT, they can help educate the rest of the company, the rest of the enterprise, and make them see all the positives of self-service, all the things they didn't see before, because they have busy lives. They don't necessarily come up with things themselves and call IT and say, oh, I have this great idea. You have to give them an outlet, and you have to educate them, and you have to engage with the business and really promote this self-service mindset, as I've said before. And that's why it's very important to being up to date with ServiceNow functionality, because that can also save you a lot of time and money in the long run. As I said, ServiceNow is updated twice a year. You don't need to update it twice a year. Most people update once a year. But every update adds new functionality. We at DXC will always tell you about the new functionality, of course, but it's important someone within your company can be educated in this, so they in turn can educate the business. So someone isn't going around and buying some kind of new application, expensive application. If it's something that's maybe already in ServiceNow, you can use out of the box or get configured, or something that's coming in the next release, which is a few months away. That way you can save your company a lot of money and get more value from your ServiceNow platform. It's also important to have the right people for the right job. So you need to establish a base. I know many of you already have an ITSM team, and that ITSM team needs to, of course, cover the basic IT roles. That's a given. But they also need someone within to have a creative mindset, to think about the things that that isn't there yet, or who are able to challenge processes. If someone comes say, I want this process digitized, they have to have the creative mindset and the knowledge of ServiceNow to know, well, you can do it this way, but you can actually save a lot of time if you do it that way, or this is possible in ServiceNow, this is not possible in ServiceNow. So that's very important also to get the momentum, the traction going, that you don't have to be 100% experts, but you have to know something about the platform. Of course, we as partners can help you with that, and we can also engage with the business along with you. That's not a problem. We do that often with a lot of our customers, but it's very important that you have someone within who can also drive the business. And as I said in number 3, lead the digital journey. Leading the digital journey within IT and within a company is a twofold. It's someone who has a lot of knowledge about the ServiceNow platform and who is interested in evolving the platform, but it's also important that the IT leadership, who don't have to be experts, can support this journey. Because of course it's not free, but it's an investment in user experience, keeping employees, and it's something that adds a lot of value and saves you money in the long run on a lot of processes. You also need to make sure that you can expand on your own. We as partners can help you build almost whatever you want, but a lot of simple processes is actually where a lot of the value is gained. So having someone within who can build service requests, manage knowledge articles, write knowledge articles and stuff like that is very important. So you can have someone, actually preferably a few people, depending on how big your company is, but someone who can take the simple things, develop them quickly and add value. A good example is actually when I was in the airport. I made a service request. There was a project where I made a service request. It took me 5 hours developing the service request. It took me 10 hours in total with testing implementation. So pretty simple service request, but there was a business case behind this service request. And not saying how much I earned, but the actual value from this, the business case, highlighted that the 10 hours I spent developing this simple service request actually saved the company what amount to my annual salary for my 10 hours spent on this simple service request. Of course, this doesn't go for all service requests, but the amount of time you spend handling papers, moving from place to place, and that it really mounts up. So the more things you can digitize through the workflows in ServiceNow, the more value it adds. And the last principle I have is I've called it keep up. I know this isn't a very webinar sort of thing to call it keep up, but for me it's very important, because if you do these 4 other principles, if you acknowledge the fact that you need self-service, if you accept that it is a service, if you adapt to the mindset and you invest in the knowledge and start bringing this knowledge and expanding this knowledge within the company, within the enterprise, people will start seeing the advantages and the demands will start rolling in. Word of mouth is strong, and when you start digitizing trivial, time-consuming tasks into something you barely need to think about, everyone wants a piece of the pie. Who said that? I said that. Why do I know that? I've seen it. I've seen it over 5 years. A ServiceNow platform, which was absolutely nothing from the beginning, explode to one of the biggest enterprise-wide installations in all of Europe. And that's because we did a lot of the first 4 principles. We started making the business know, we accepted that it was a service, and we pushed self-service to the company, and then it started getting its life of its own. So you have this digitalization I'm gonna read what I said. You have a platform for digitalization. Embrace it. There are so many processes that you can digitize, but it depends on how much you put into it. If you don't see it as a service, if you don't tell the business about it, then you will still have a web shop with a limited selection. Not many people will use it. Only the people who actually have services in there they need to use will use it. So you need to broaden your perspective on what to put in your ServiceNow platform. You can also take external applications and replace with ServiceNow functionality. As I said, the key thing you have to think about when you think about a service portal is use it as a one-stop shop. You can also put other web shops within that service portal as an iframe if you have other things you already invested in, or you can link to other systems if you need to do that. The important thing is that people know whatever they need to find, they can go to the service portal and find it. That's what you need to think. And that's where the real value is. That's what saves time. You don't need to think about, oh, I need to have access to this application. How could I get access to this application? Well, I can go on the service portal or either find the access directly there or read a knowledge article on how to get access to it. You see, nobody calls anyone about that because they know they can find it there. Also need to talk the talk, walk the walk. Time to market when you develop in ServiceNow can be very fast. As I said, with the thing that saved me saved the company my annual salary, that's something I did in 10 hours, and some simple service requests you can actually release depending on your change process, of course, from day to day if you want, from week to week. Of course, bigger configurations, if you want it more customized or bigger workflows, that will take a bit longer. But generally, time to market when you have an idea and an output is very, very short. So the company will also quickly realize this and also demand that you actually deliver in this agile way. So the more agile you can be, the better. That also helps with the self-service mindset getting traction within the company. You also need to have a food chain in place. And that's I call it a food chain, because as soon as your company starts realizing how effective self-service is, as I said in my quote, they want a piece of the pie. So you need to make sure that your ServiceNow platform has clear governance. It has people, it has a platform owner, platform responsible, the ITIL roles covered. You need to know what to do with demands when they come in. You also need to have your team, you have to have a SPOC. Now I write this, a team has to have a SPOC, but a SPOC can also be a team within your company. Someone that's an outlet for the ideas and demands that you get from the company, so you can help the company digitize themselves further now and in the future. There's actually an out-of-the-box functionality in ServiceNow, which is an idea demand process. You can implement this so people can actually send in an idea through the service portal, and then you can qualify it through the demand process and make it a project if you want, or you can implement it like it is. Many places they've implemented this approach, because that way they get stuff in through the service portal. Again, people know where to go, where to deliver stuff like that, deliver ideas, and that's actually really great. And that can help your SPOC or your SPOC team qualify demands down the line. One last thing is that it's very important to respect and help form the overall IT architecture, because you will quickly realize that ServiceNow will be one of your critical systems if it's not already is. It's an incredibly reliable system, but you also have to respect the overall architecture. So if your company has several applications for something, you don't need to go and replace those systems right away, but it's a very good thing that you can talk, the systems can talk to each other. At least you know how the architecture is thought, and you need to place ServiceNow within the overall architecture as a critical system because of how much value it will give to your company in the long run. I have only one slide left, and I think I'm keeping the time. I'm looking at Michelle. I think I'm keeping the time pretty good. And this is the last slide I have here. That's just a sum up of the 5 guiding principles for service portals and self-service. People demand easy processes. That's a given. So you need to acknowledge the demand. The future of self-service is enterprise-wide. So you need to accept and respond to self-service as a service. Everybody wins. So you need to adapt to the mindset. You need to have the governance in place, you need to invest in knowledge, and you need to be agile. And you need to make sure that your company, when the ball starts rolling, can keep up, and you can always expand your platform and help your people get those processes digitized. We at DXC are here to help. So don't hesitate to reach out. Also, if there's something that hasn't been covered in this webinar, you're always welcome to reach out to me. I know that Michelle will also send that you can send to me. You will get something, so you can reach me if you have any further questions, or we can help you in any way. But anyway, that's the presentation. So Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Nicholai. What an interesting story you just told. It was really interesting to listen to. I at least think. This part is the Q&A part, and we actually got a question where he asked one of the KSF's, key factors for success or something, for this is that it's easy to find the things I as a user want to help with. How is the capabilities for this in ServiceNow? Is it like Google, so the user can enter keywords and get suggestions, or do you need to think of a good structure to categorize all things in a way so that the user find it easy?
Well, actually, it's both, because the search function in ServiceNow, it's pretty good out of the box. It can search different layers. It can search down in articles. It's not exactly Google, but it's getting there, and it's getting better all the time. But as you can search for keywords within service request headlines and bottom text and knowledge article words. And on top of that, if the search isn't good enough or it doesn't suit your requirements, it can be customized further. So I haven't had any problems with the search function. Not something that you can't in any way or form configure yourself out of if it doesn't really meet your requirements right away. But it's getting more and more Google every day. So there's that. Okay.
Well, Google is tough to compete with sometimes. Well, that sounds pretty good, and that's like you get a lot from like the out of the box, you know, what it is in a basic function.
Yes, it has, the service portal is born with a search function. I don't know if I said that, but it's born with the service search function, and it is very good. Okay. That's good to know. So another question we got is the service portal something you have to pay extra for or have a specific license for? I guess we kind of answered with some of these things. Yeah, I can sum up. Everyone who buys ITSM setup or any kind of setup of ServiceNow has a service portal out of the box, which can just be switched on. It needs minimal configuration to work, but of course, if you want, many companies want their own logos and colors and stuff like that. So it needs a little configuration with that, but it's not a lot. It's really not a lot, and it's not something that requires a license. And on top of that, people using the service portal is not under any kind of license. It's only the people who work in the backend and resolve the requests and incidents who are actually under, who has to have a ServiceNow license. So you can actually have 1,000 users ordering stuff via the service portal, and in theory have 10 people managing them, and you are only paying, well, your subscription fees for those 10 people, and of course the general subscription fee for ServiceNow. So if you haven't already, if you aren't already using your service portal, well, it's there for you to use.
Yeah, well, that's a good point, that you don't have to count all the heads when you have to pay. That's really nice.
Yeah, and the configuration, of course, we can help with that. Everyone who knows how to do that can do that, but we can help with that. But it's actually really easy to configure. So it's just go do it. Go do it. You have to have one thing in mind, though. It's very important. Again, the UX, the user friendliness. You need to make sure that it's easily accessible, and how you configure it needs to be so it works for your users.
Cool. I have another question that came in. How do you see the interaction between SharePoint side and self-service on ServiceNow? And also a little side comment, thanks for a very good presentation.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, there are several ways to do that. SharePoint has its advantages, and ServiceNow has its advantages. SharePoint is primarily used for documentation. It also has some kind of, you can also make forms and stuff like that in SharePoint. But again, as I said, you don't need one system for everything, but you need a one-stop shop for everything, so people can access through the service portal. So you can combine those things. You can integrate between those two systems any way you want. But it's difficult to get more into detail. But my experience with SharePoint, SharePoint's also been in the two, 3 places I've been before DXC, is that you can make it seamlessly if you want. So good question, thank you. I see they don't necessarily have to replace each other, but they can work really great together.
Cool. Thank you, Nicholai. Yeah, I think that's kind of the questions we got in and the questions we have time for, really. So right now, thank you for answering the questions, Nicholai. I will try to launch a poll where you just give us feedback on really what you thought of this webinar. Just, we really want to get better, so your feedback is important. Yeah, so if you can click what you need to click, then we will be very thankful for that. That is very kind of you. Yeah, I'll just give it 30 more seconds. I can see that a lot of you are voting. We're very thankful for that. Yeah, and yeah, that's pretty satisfied with that. So I'm closing the poll. Yeah, so just wrapping up here. We have 1 minute left. So thank you so much, Nicholai. This was really interesting. I'm also going to quickly promote a new webinar that will be launching soon. It's called How to Be in Control of Your Assets and Data in ServiceNow, where we have Jens and Yen from DXC to present about this topic. And I know that some of the people joining here also are very interested in asset management, configuration management, process, managing all those things. So make sure that you keep an eye for LinkedIn, and that's really the channel that we always share the newest information. So again, as I said in the beginning, this has been recorded. Thank you so much for all your questions. The recording will be shared. You will get an email after this webinar where you will get some useful links. And yeah, I don't think I have more things to say. I'm very, very thankful for you, Nicholai. That was really, really cool. Yeah, thank you to everyone who attended today, and I wish you a wonderful day and hope to see you the next time. And it is on March 15 at 10 a.m. Yeah, please join us there as well. Okay, and let's wave together and say goodbye, Nicholai.
Thank you, everyone. See you around.